welcome along to episode 18 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. Mark, we're really knocking these up now. 18.
18 is amazing. I know we keep doing them, and it's just putting them out consistently, and it's amazing how they're racking up. It really is.
It's crazy. I think like 18 to me is just like, wow. You know, I think we kind of had that tipping point where we're like, okay, if we get past 5, we're going to hit 10. And if we hit 10, we're serious about this. Yeah, and then now it's just like, I reckon, let's get to 50. Let's keep going. And do that. And do you know what is really good? I think this one, the last one, episode 17, it only came out yesterday where we're recording this, you know. So obviously we record it around about the Friday and it comes out the following Thursday. So whenever you listen to this, we recorded it back last week. So episode 17 had been out for 1 day and we've already got some great feedback from it. You know, it's one of like our kind of not champion episodes. It's only been 1 day, but it's ran away. You know, we've got listeners from all over, and we're even getting some feedback as well. So we said about on that one, look, if you have any questions, if you're unsure how anything that we talk about can work for you, you know, send it through, and we'll go through some of the questions that we had. But just to give you just that address, like just send us through an email, contact@strategyandconversions.com. Send it through. You know, we might give you a shout out. We might, you know, read some stuff that you've sent us. But we're going to read everything. So, you know, anything that you put in there, we're going to read it.
Absolutely.
Just a little word of warning, eh?
Yes.
But yeah, I think last week we talked about local business marketing, and we kind of ran through how there's such a great opportunity for any business right now to dominate their local area. And we know this from experience and everything, how this really works, but we did have a bit of kind of resistance from some people with the kind of feedback where they're saying, how can this work for me? You know, because we talked a lot about trades and we talked a lot about kind of like food places. And they work really easy. Maybe we did pick the easy options to explain it with those. But yeah, I think local business marketing, I think is there anything that we left out? Is there anything where maybe it doesn't work?
I think everything works. Again, I know we've banged on about this before. I think everything works. It's just knowing where it needs to be applied. And I think that with local business marketing, in some cases, the application needs to be slightly different, maybe. But I'm convinced that everything, if it's done right, if it's done correctly and in the right place to the right people, that's another big thing, to the right audience, then it will work. It really will. And I think one of the problems I think in the past with local businesses, and that's been shown even before the pandemic, was they started to cry out about how online business was taking their market away. And my answer to that was, well, go online then. Don't moan about it. Start thinking, right, okay, this is a challenge now. How can I compete with it? Well, you create your own little online shop as well as your offline high street shop. And so, you know, people see your products and see your shop and say, oh, we're open Monday to Friday, Saturday, whatever. And people think, oh, that's just around the corner. And they go.
Mate, I know I touched on this book before with you, and I'm not sure if it was on a podcast. So if we are repeating it, then we're repeating it. But it's going to be some good stuff. I had a meeting, just like a little kind of one-to-one meeting, where a bit of a clarity call with a will writer who's up north, and his words were along the lines of, look, things are opening back up. We're thinking we might get on Zoom and add Zoom to our offering. And it was like, what have you been doing for the past 18 months?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and he's been talking about business has been dead and stuff like that. And now going back to it, you know, do we need to use Zoom? And I just said, look, mate, that down in Bristol, working with a will writer who they put that in straight away.
Yeah.
You know, and now when they're kind of going back and there's more face-to-face, well, actually that option is going to be there now. So where before you had phone, you had email, and you had face-to-face, well, now we have Zoom as well. And we did touch on this as well back in one of the earlier podcasts where we said, look, even like the big businesses, is that they're going to get left behind if they don't offer the easy option to their customers.
Yeah. And and one of the things I've always maintained this, from copywriting as well as just general marketing, is people love to know if they're going to deal with a business, people love to know what goes on behind the scenes. They really love to know how that business works and the staff and all the rest of it. And there's one company I've done some work with. And what he's done is he's first of all he's been posting about employees, so he puts in employee posts and photographs, and he's now got to the stage where he allows kind of people through Zoom into his office to show people what's going on. And you think, how brilliant is that? Because they can see people working. He comes over to someone's table, say hi to the camera. So they say hi, whatever the name is. This person does that, and does a great job here. And then it goes on to, and all of a sudden the people can see how the business works. And that is, well,
you know what?
I don't know there's many businesses that do that.
I was just about to say, no, I'm going to hold my hands up. That tactic hasn't even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Even we're talking with businesses and we look at the strategy side. Yeah, okay, look, we are looking at how can we put more faces behind the business?
Yeah.
So how can we, from the front end of marketing, how can we let people know that there are different people within the business? And we've done this before as well when we're working with businesses and we're saying, look, each of your employees basically is a salesperson, is a billboard that can go out there and they can attract different people to you because they have different personalities and stuff like that. And do you know what? That's an amazing kind of tactic there. That just by Zoom, you can actually see that there's other people working in there. Like you imagine that as well. You imagine having a catch up with someone and then you're like, oh yeah, say hello to Zoe in the background and stuff like that. And she waves and I think that's awesome. I think we're definitely going to be stealing that.
And you know what? The other good thing that's happened in the pandemic for a lot of businesses that work online is the fact that they've had some, and this sounds kind of weird, but they've had their kids with them or their dogs with them. So they go online and they're talking, all of a sudden their dog comes in or the child comes in. People don't hate that happening. They love it because it's personal. And they say, oh, this is my, say hello. And people love that because they know they're dealing with someone who's got a family life. They're not just this person who's talking to them about their business. They're living and breathing and life goes on. And it's just, I do think that what has happened over Zoom, because it's become so popular now through the pandemic, it's just brought that kind of personal reality, if you like, into sales calls or marketing calls,
Totally.
That kind of business call.
I was just thinking then about a call I had this week where I'm talking to someone about their marketing and their door goes, right? And they're just like, oh, I'm getting a package from Amazon. Like I need to go and get it because last time, and like they went into detail as well. So last time they left it in a barn. And it's like in a barn, like they leave it in the bin here, But it's like, but that bridged a conversation then, bridged a relationship through the conversation. And it was just then all of a sudden it was just so relaxed, and it's like these are the opportunities that are there to really kind of take advantage of this kind of online world. And what's really interesting to me is you just said it, about like 10 minutes ago, where you said about people complaining that online businesses are taking their business from them. And it's like, well, why not just go online? And it's like, for me, like for a good kind of 5-6 years, I was pushing businesses saying, look, you need to take advantage of this online marketing. And it was always built with resistance. And I get my business through referrals and my network and all this kind of stuff. Great. Start building up a pipeline as well, through the online stuff. Pandemic hit. And then they were just like, I need to get online. And it's just like, okay, look, you're always going to be 6 months behind. And I mean, not to sort of toot my own horn, but okay, look, we can put tactics and strategies in place quite quickly to start getting things moving, but it still takes a bit of time to build up that rapport with your customers online or that potential audience online, when you haven't been there before, because people know that you're just going online to try to sell to them.
That's right. But it's just that it's another avenue, isn't it? And this is what marketing's all about. How many different channels can you use? And you've got all these things like, people using TikTok and stuff that's coming on board now, where a lot of people are getting into that, and different channels or different new channels that people are just exploring into. And it's just another avenue that you can use for marketing, and not marketing in a cheesy way, but just having a conversation. And now you can see each other. Which, let's face it, 3 or 4 years ago, people didn't like using Zoom, or not many people did. They kind of, oh, I don't want people to see me. And now, if they don't see you, you're as you say, you're falling behind, and
Mm.
people are quite comfortable now with seeing each other. So it's kind of it's helped. I think it has actually helped building that personal trust building, even though in a very roundabout way. But it's definitely a byproduct.
No, totally. I think for a good few years, I've been pushing that kind of face behind the business and stuff like that, because the opposite side of, if there is no one,
Yeah,
then it's that kind of corporate entity, and people are just
yeah,
a bit
yeah,
like,
yeah,
do I trust them? Who are they?
yeah,
That kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah,
And so, I mean, I was pushing that before, but now I think it's a must. We were talking about stuff, in podcasts before, where it's like things were an option before, but now it's a requirement. And if you're not doing it, you're not in the game. And I
yeah,
mean, even to a certain extent, I guess now is that, like you said, something like TikTok, for example,
mm,
right? It's really taken off over the past year. I think a lot of the pandemic stuff, and people doing different dances on there. Man, I'm going to hold my hands up. I think as much as my kind of knowledge runs wide and deep, TikTok is one that I'm just, I'm not fluent with. Um, I know that there's some people getting insane amounts of traffic on there,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
and lots of attention and stuff like that.
yeah.
However, my view is always, where's the money? So I'm always looking at platforms and stuff like that to say, okay, look, where's the money? What are we making happen from that platform to the next step, to the next step? Where do we get paid, or where do we have that mechanism that transfers from, okay, we're just doing stuff,
Hmm.
to we're getting what we want from this?
Mm.
And it's like, and this is something as well, like in the podcast last week, I kind of went into it saying, look, if you're not getting what you want, you're being lazy, right? And so, look, it's not your fault, it's how you're being conditioned. But this is a good example as well, right? You take TikTok, for example.
Yeah,
It's like, you see it a lot where you kind of go on different social media platforms. So you might go on LinkedIn, you might go on Facebook or Instagram, and you'll see a TikTok video, and
mm.
you'll see these people, and they're dancing along, or they're doing whatever they do. And it's like, but you're also complaining that you're getting no business, right?
Yeah,
So stop wasting your time,
yeah,
right, with different tactics that maybe are getting you vanity sort of matrix and stuff like that, metrics, but get out in your local area, and
yeah,
start getting
yeah,
some business in,
yeah, yeah.
and that's what I mean by the kind of lazy part. And I think that's a good kind of segue into some of the questions that we had
Okay, yeah.
from the podcast, where I think I know one that came through that it just said about that whole kind of thing with restaurants and food places and trades. And then they were talking about being more of like in a corporate space, in a professional space.
Okay,
And
yeah,
they said, can it still work for them?
yeah. I think so.
And it, yeah, I mean, I totally agree as well, mate. I think when we were talking about the local business marketing side, I don't think there was anything that doesn't work.
No,
I think especially when we're talking about sole traders, we're talking about micro businesses, we're talking about small businesses, and especially if your office or your main kind of presence is within that certain area, then local business marketing really works. And there's actually there was a bit of a story I wanted to talk about last week, and I think we just kind of we just start
run
chatting,
out of
and
time.
we run out of time. But there's an estate agent I know in Bristol, Ben. Like, he's great. I was talking with him, a good kind of 3 months ago, and what he's done, I'm not sure if he came up with it or it's his kind of umbrella company, whatever it is, but he's got his picture on all the boards. So if you've got like a for sale board or a sold board or anything like that, it's his picture, right?
Yeah.
And I can remember having a chat with him, and I said, you know what, mate, I did some work with an estate agent going back about 4 years ago, and I was pushing them to be the brand, right?
Yeah.
Because that kind of concept is big in America, where they have the realtors. It is the person. Like, if someone's selling a house, they go to that person to sell their house. They don't go to a company. It's the person.
No, that's right.
And it's like, okay, look, I can remember saying to this guy about 4 years ago, I was like, whoever does that over here is going to win,
Yeah,
right? And then when I seen this with this guy Ben, I was just like, straight away just applauding, like, mate, this is great. I think this is this is what's going to happen. And I'll be honest, mate, I drove around probably for like the first time a couple of months ago, I actually seen different boards with different people on there who were like estate agents, and I was like, wow, this is really like,
Yeah.
Once something works, everyone's on it.
Yeah, well, everyone, that's true. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? When you set something new, like your guy Ben did, then people are going to jump on the idea. Great, but you're just raising the bar. So you've got to keep innovating and thinking of new ideas. But what a great thing to do. I mean, you've got a board up saying, so for example, in Bristol, CJ Hole is a big estate agent, isn't it? So you got a board up saying CJ Hole, and people see this big faceless company, and then you got one next to it with a face on it. Where are you going to go? Going back to Better Call Saul, isn't it?
Mate, do you know what? Exactly that. I'm going to be honest now, mate. Right, that series. Right,
Yeah.
I actually watched a couple of months ago. I watched all the Breaking Bad stuff, and then I didn't watch the Better Call Saul stuff. I think I tried to watch it once. I didn't get into it, and then I started watching it a couple of months ago. And mate, to me, the business lessons in there are awesome.
Yeah.
Right? And don't get me wrong, he's a bit of a crook, but I like that. I like cutting corners sometimes when you need to. But it's just like some of the stuff that he comes up with, you're just like, how good is that? He's putting himself in the picture that, okay, look, you better call Saul.
Better call Saul.
If you're up on a charge, you're going to go to jail. You better call Saul.
Yeah,
and that there is the exact concept of like what anyone wants. I think I said it once in one of these podcasts, is that I did a talk a little while back, and I still get called Batman now, right? But in certain circles where I started talking about Batman, and I just said, look, when the people of Gotham, whenever they have a problem, they know they have to call Batman. Batman's the one who's going to solve it, right? So they look to Batman to solve their problem. They already know he's already positioned as the savior.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, he doesn't need to go around handing out leaflets or anything like that, or saying, look, is there any problem? Do you need me? He knows that, look, if there's a problem, people are going to tell him that they need him. Yeah. And that's exactly the same for local marketing.
Yeah, and going back to that local idea, I mean, this guy locally puts his face on the billboards. People are going to see him about as well. People are going to see him on the street. Yeah, he's not a fictional character. So he's going to be around and people will see him. But, that's the estate agent. We see, okay. And naturally, he's going to get more business because people get to know him and they get to trust, and they think, right, CJ Hole or this guy Ben. Oh, okay, I know Ben. I'll go around the corner.
I'll be honest as well. I think like he's doing it really well because he's doing videos on social media and stuff like that. And he's combining it all.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got that part there, and it is exactly that. And it gets to a point where it's like, we need to sell a house. Who are we going to go to? Well, look, these are the options. We've got a chain that we could go to, and maybe we'll just be counted as a never number. Not to say that you're going to get a worse service by going to any of these chains and stuff like that. They carry a reputation, for however long. But I just, as we talked the same the other week about the change within the accountancy industry, I think there are a lot of professional industries that are going to change with personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a challenge for any butchers watching. Let's see you on social media. Let's see you actually on creating a YouTube video about your shop and the people that come in.
I reckon that's got to be a tough one these days, right? Butcher, I think with all the kind of
true,
like veganism and stuff like that going around, man, that's going to be a tough one.
Or a greengrocer then. But
maybe we'll turn down that client. Yeah, that would definitely be a challenge. I'm up for it. I'm always up for a challenge. But you're right there, mate. I mean, how do you know what? It's going to put some people off. Of course it is, right? But how awesome would it be to kind of just know, like, how your food gets to the plate?
I mean,
like that sort of stuff. You could trust your local butcher and stuff like that.
Exactly. Greengrocer's the same. I mean, it's just if you've got a local greengrocer and all of a sudden he pops up on a YouTube video or Facebook where you're going through and you suddenly see this video of your local greengrocer. Oh, that's Joe around the corner. Talking about talking about anything really to do with fruit and veg. Then it's just another avenue, isn't it? Just another channel.
It was really good, mate. There are some people who really embrace the kind of social media stuff with local business marketing. I know a few of a kind of food traders, right? So you would get the likes of, like, there's a guy, mate. He's got an old ice cream van that's been it's been transformed into like a Mexican takeaway.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So
Okay.
what he does, he drives around to like different locations, and they put on Facebook, he'd be like, right, okay, look, this Friday we're in this location.
Oh, brilliant.
People
Yeah.
can come along, right? How awesome is that? You're letting your audience know where you're going to be. They're
Yeah, we're
coming
going to
to
be.
you. They're coming to you. How great is
Yeah,
that,
you're the
right?
best. Yeah.
And it's that stuff. And you get like there is an ice cream van as well, like who do the same, and they do like the trays of ice cream and stuff like that. And it is just embracing that you can
Yeah.
then, because it isn't a case of you don't actually need a shop. You don't actually need, some of the kind of old school things that you had to have before.
Mm.
You can embrace it in a different way where the kind of pop-up shop, street foods and all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff,
Yeah.
there's all these different options. And that's
There
where,
are. There are.
for me, mate, the local business side is still, to me, is a champion side. I think if we're not talking scaling your business. We're potentially not even talking growth. We're just talking about, look, if you're a sole trader, if you're a micro business, possibly you're in a small business and you want to just pick up market share within your area, local business marketing, you're going to get it.
Mm. That's right. Yeah, and yeah, that so, and the whole thing about video, for example, has opened up so much now compared. Video was quite an expensive option before with lots of editing and all that kind of stuff, but people don't mind Facebook Lives anymore. I mean, Facebook Lives, for example, you're straight on the camera. There's no editing involved. Bang, it comes out. It's very raw in some cases, but people love that. And YouTube videos the same. You can edit it if you want, but normally the just having someone, for example, a fishmonger, maybe just talking about different fish he's got and where they've come from, and all that kind of stuff. How good would that be? Just blow you away.
And again, that
Yeah.
trust side,
Yeah.
who else are you going to trust? It's like you've got someone then doing a live video every day, showing the knowledge, showing the service that they offer, and then they're probably going to show some customers as well, which are happy.
Yeah.
So what more could you want?
Yeah, I know, and it's just that avenue of marketing of actually putting out video is so easy to do. You just do it from your phone. The phones are that good now, that they've been that good that for such a long time. It just takes that extra level of awareness and thought. What are other people doing? What can I do that is slightly better than what they're doing? That's the thing. If you keep trying to elevate yourself above that kind of pool of people, for example, the estate agent, he's put his photograph on now. Everyone's jumping on that bandwagon. So the estate agent needs to go to video, for example, quick video of the home. This is a new home. These are the tenants. So you can start to see that people can start to see that he's interacting with new sellers or new buyers, for example. And
there's something that I'm just thinking, which would be great to do for another kind of podcast episode, is that whole thing there is again, I think some people get that.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is some people, it all comes back to effort, right? So it comes back to putting in the effort to make it happen.
It does.
And you will get some people who, when they're starting up or their back's against the wall, they will do that stuff. And then as soon as they get a bit of work in or something like that, they stop putting in that effort. And they kind of do that feast to famine, that whole kind of yo-yo kind of marketing and stuff like that. And I think maybe that consistency is something we'd dive deeper into in another podcast episode. Because I think that's an important part.
Yeah. And I think, that comes, I mean, we won't go on about that now because we'll put that into another episode, but that whole thing about you market in the summer for your winter, and you just keep, when the time to market is when times are really good, because you're really buoyant, you're really upbeat, and you're really full of passion. That's the time to put out great marketing, is when things are going well for you, not when you think, oh God, I'm worried now. I'm stressing about my business. So the trouble is, when you do that, when you're marketing under stress, it comes across. You comes across as a bit of a desperation and stuff. And it doesn't.
That's the thing, desperation. People can smell it. People can see it. That's the thing.
So market when you've got a good, when you're having a great harvest, then market. That's the time to market, because
I think that's a great analogy, isn't it? Like the harvest side.
Yeah.
Is that like, you sow in winter for, the crop in summer.
Yeah.
I mean, I might hash that if farmers listening, but you get the whole kind of point to it, right? Is that, you can't just go and put the seed in the ground and then go back the next day and it's there.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And that whole kind of thing of, okay, look, once you've taken the reward, well, look, you still have to go back and start the process again.
Yeah. And Jim Rohn, he's obviously guys passed on there. But Jim Rohn was good at this. He just said, you all business is just like the seasons. The winter is when you have to maybe hunker down, in his own words, hunker down and just sort of take stock of what you've got. In the spring, you start sowing, but you've got to wait until the crop rises. You can't just sow and then have a crop immediately. You follow the seasons. Summer comes along when everything starts to ripen, and then you have a bumper harvest. But the harvest is to help you through the winter. And if you do that, the harvest gives you plenty, but the whole idea is it gives you a reserve to go through the winter, and you start the whole process again. And he's always said, businesses will always have that. They'll always have their winters, and they'll always have their summers and their harvest time, or the fall.
Isn't it? I was just thinking then as well. I can remember being a teenager and reading a book with about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and how he was when he went through his training and stuff like that. It's like, okay, look, he would do the kind of bulk training in the winter, ready for the body in the summer.
Yeah,
and it's the same concept. It's just that you have to put in the work to reap the reward. And it comes back to that effort and putting it all in. I think we'll do one more question then from what we've got in.
Sorry,
and this is a good segue actually into talking about niching and what we're gonna talk about in this episode, even though we're like halfway through. So we had another question come through on the local business marketing. It said, what if I basically serve an audience which is like a small audience, and there isn't any in my local area, in my immediate postcode and stuff like that, and it's like, how does that work for me? And for me, the processes are always the same. We just have to look a bit further afield. So for me, if it's a case of, okay, look, you're that niche that, maybe it's like manufacturing or something like that. Okay, so there's only going to be so many different kind of, you may not even have like a factory within your kind of postcode or something like that.
Yeah.
However, your area, or even further afield. So like we're in Bristol. We were talking last time about certain areas within Bristol. Well, look, we would just look at Bristol as a whole, and even if that isn't big enough, we might look at the Southwest.
Yeah.
And we would do the same process where we would look to dominate that area, where we would let people know, look, who we are, what we're offering, and how we can help them. So the processes stay the same. I don't know if that's your take as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, because if they've got a very very niche or target market, for example, as you say, manufacturing, if they're manufacturing something specific for a particular set of buyers, if you like, then they might not be local to you, but they will be in that area. They could be in the Bristol area, or they could be in the Southwest. So what you've got to do is then start using. So you open up, you expand your area, but you focus into the people that are going to be your audience within that area. If you do have somebody, if you do have just one person local, then market to them, but don't stop the marketing to the other people as well. So it becomes more industry or person specific than just say, for example, like we said, a greengrocer, for example, because it's got a wide public. But where you have a particular niche, don't be afraid of that particular niche. Just that's a niche that is deep as opposed to one that's being wide. So still the same tactic.
That's a great concept there, and I think we'll go into that when we talk about niching. But just to wrap up on that part, I think the danger sometimes with that kind of thinking, where we've said about being like an area like the Southwest, is people will say, well, I may as well just go nationwide then, because I'm going to do the same thing. But the whole point is that, look, if we can dominate an area, we can pick up the business within that area, we can become the go-to person in that area, we can expand then. But instead of kind of casting your net wide, we want to bring it back to a local area and just dominate that area first.
Yeah. Do you know, there's an interesting story. I think I can't remember the name of the farm, but it's a farm, I think, in Somerset. I'm pretty sure it's in Somerset, who started creating a particular type of animal feed. I can't remember even for which animals, but they start off with, I think they even start off with cows, and it was a particular type of organic animal feed that was really a healthy feed, as opposed to all the rubbish that's that's full of cereals and that kind of stuff. They created this feed that was like a super blend of stuff for cattle, and they started marketing it in Somerset. They now sell globally, but they started their local. It was in Somerset, local market, and then the word of mouth expanded. They carried on expanding, so then they went into the southwest. Then they went into Wales, and this was about, I think it was about 6 years ago. They started off. They're now global because their feed is known as has had quite rave reviews from farmers about how it's better for the animals. And they now do, I think they do feed for pigs and other animals as well. How their feed is better than the general kind of stuff you get from Spillers, for example, that just churn out that massive cereal-based feed. And it's just simple how you can start by, they decided they had a plan to really go for your big business. But I guess when they started off, they didn't. They just thought, right, we're going to see who we can sell to, our friends who've got farms, for example. And it just burgeoned from there. And then they decided that, right, we could really take this into massively and scaled it up. So they built a process, they got everything going, and now they ship worldwide. It's incredible.
You think like that. So things I love about that, mate, especially for what we're talking about within this episode, is for one, look, they started, they got the processes right, they dominated the local area.
They did, yeah.
They got proof of concept. Yeah, they expanded. Yeah, I mean that's business, right?
That's it.
Follow that. Follow that map, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But what was really cool there is, I think, we threatened about it last week, and we've been threatening about it this week as well, that we're going to talk about niching.
Yes, we are
going on and on about it. But I think this is a good thing just to talk about, like with that as well, is that, okay, look, they could have said, oh yeah, we just provide food for cows, or we just provide food to the south, all that kind of stuff, and they would have left so much money on the table by not expanding. And I think niching is one of those things that, me personally, it gets taught wrongly.
Yes.
Right. So it gets taught in the wrong way, where what it tells people to straight away is, look, you need to really drill down on who you serve and all this kind of stuff. Your business needs to be in a niche. You need niche audiences and stuff like that. And for anyone listening in the States or, certain places of the world, you will say niche.
Niche.
Right. Yeah. And we say niche. But in the States, there's a really good phrase. You'll probably be able to tell me who said it. But it's the riches are in the niches.
The riches are in the niches, yeah.
It makes perfect sense, right? Because what happens there is that, okay, look, if you can focus in a certain way, then you're going to be talking to that type of audience, and then they're going to see you as the go-to person. A similar way to what we're talking like with local business marketing in one respect, is we get to dominate. But what happens there is, where I say about it's been taught wrongly, is that it tells people to drill down in a niche, which is, okay, but then it puts limits on you for what you can actually make money from, but also how you can scale as a business. Because for me, I think with niching is, yes, okay, you can niche into a particular kind of brand. So you serve a certain kind of, a certain kind of sector, and we'll go into that in a bit more as well. But for me, niching really comes down to your products or services, not your business.
Exactly right. Yeah. So go back to this farm. Okay, so let's go to this farm. The farm created a product for cattle. Okay, they didn't create a product and say, this is, if you've got poultry, pigs, whatever, this is for everyone. It wasn't for everyone. It was specific, because they researched it. It was specific for cattle. So their market was tiny. Their niche was farms in Somerset, cattle farms in Somerset, probably with a certain size that had a certain turnover, I imagine, because they wouldn't just sell feed to somebody who's got one cow, because it wouldn't be worth it. So they had a particular size farm, I guess, but they were looking for a particular product that was for cattle. It was a niche market. They were looking at farmers in Somerset, so they narrowed it right down. Now they've gone global with it, because they can go to every farmer. When you start, as you just said, when you start your product or service, that's where you niche, and you get a service that is right for a particular. So, for example, we've got the services that are applicable to different types of sizes of business. So, for example, we've got one that's great for startups and real sole traded micro businesses. You couldn't market that to a big company. And you would be stupid to try and market that to a big company, because the big company would laugh and they just, well, I don't need that. So you just go really specific into who am I really going to serve and who's going to get the best value from this particular product. So the price points, all that kind of stuff is important. And you pick out that niche market. Even if that niche market, you think, God, that's going to be so restrictive. It isn't, because once you dominate that niche and you become good at it, word of mouth just blows out the water. And you go have a proof of concept. And as those businesses grow, then they're going to look for other products from you. And that's the whole point. That's how it expands.
But talking about ourselves there, I think, that's a great example just to kind of touch on what we were talking about when we were looking at this as well. And it's like, okay, look, well, we know that we can help anyone from startup to scaling and even exiting. But those different stages along the way require different parts. And even each of those stages, drill down into different parts as well. And we were talking about it where we said, okay, look, if you have a coach, or, maybe a solopreneur or even micro business, and we're putting together a strategy to help them earn an extra 60K a year, that makes a decent difference.
Yeah.
But if you then got a small business that is maybe turning over 4 million, well, 60K is just it doesn't even pay for a new sales member or staff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to look at, okay, how do if we put our marketing out there so we can help you earn an extra 60K, they're just going to be like, so what? But when we turn around and say, well, we can help you double that. Help you double your turnover.
Yeah.
Your revenue. It's a different kind of message then. But what's really interesting with that is, okay, although there will be some different levels of sophistication and the discipline side that we would put in place, the processes don't change.
No, that's right. No, they don't. It's all about the message, isn't it? I mean, niching is an exercise in getting the right product to the right market. It's as you say, the process can always be the same. Well, they might be slightly different, I guess. In some cases, they might be simplified, but pretty well, you're going through the same process. But what you're doing, you're saying, right, this will work for you. This is the process we're still going to have that will fulfill that product for you. But this is the thing that you need right now, or not necessarily need, because a lot of people need it and they probably don't want it. But this is the thing that will work for you right now. We'll add 60K onto your turnover. Okay, for coaches, for example. So we're as you say, we're targeting coaches. They've been going for a couple of years or so already, so they have got a bit of a budget, but they're stuck. They're not really sure how they can increase the business they have. So that, again, we're niching down, and going back to the riches are in the niches, as the US say. It's the further down you get into a niche. Although you appear to be restricting market for that particular product, you're not restricting your market for the company, because you might have several different products that you're going where they have their own little niches, and you're basically, as in the old days, it used to be called vertical marketing, I think, wasn't it?
So, mate, do you know what? I think that there is that thing now where what we're getting is what am I looking for? Like narrow and wide. So it used to be like vertical marketing. That now is what's the word I'm looking for? A phrase that gets used now for it is called T-shaped marketing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what happens is this is actually a really interesting story, because this brings into, I guess, my experience over the years. So me getting into marketing and kind of starting off, I then wanted to basically grow my knowledge. So it was just like, you know what, mate, whether it's a website, it's SEO, it's social media, it's ads, it's whatever it is from the marketing front end, I wanted to know as much as I could about it and how it all works and how I could put it all together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And for quite a long time, I really tried to keep up with that game. And I always took pride in saying, look, do you know what? I could hold my own to 95% with an SEO expert, with an ads expert, with this, with that, because I could do all of it. And there were so many people in my ear saying, look, you need to niche down. You need to be this, or you need to be that. And I can always remember saying, I just go with whatever works. For me, like, and it's still to this day, is that every business is different. What's going to work for them and what's happening in the market and stuff like that. Things change. We need to do what's going to work for them. And I think that if you went around to just people who know of me, especially in like local area and stuff like that, and you said, what does Jamie do? There'll be people that refer to me as a social media expert. There'll be people that refer to me as an SEO expert. There'll be people that say, yeah, Jamie does ads. Jamie does, gets more sales on websites and this. And it's like, there has been no kind of niche. There's been no kind of, I guess, speciality within marketing, because I've always focused on the strategy and the strategic side and called myself, a growth expert, because I'm looking at how marketing helps you with bringing in that money. Well, and going through the years, if you think about it as well, like a website developer 10 years ago could charge whatever they wanted to build a website. Whereas now, anyone could log into one of these platforms and build a website in a day. Like, the accessibility is that level, is at that kind of level. The same with ads. You can just go and do that yourself, and actually get to that point where you can have an ad up and running within the space of like an hour. Is quite interesting with that. But this is for me where I knew that I was on a winner, because there were Facebook experts, right? So Facebook marketing expert, not talking about ads, just Facebook marketing experts. Where are they now? And it's like, you get a similar thing with like Instagram as well. LinkedIn is holding its own. It had that kind of resurgence about 3 years ago, but there was that lull period in between where, LinkedIn experts weren't making any money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, now we get to a point where the big kind of marketing training companies, and you see this with the likes of HubSpot, if you see any of their ads and stuff like that, they're saying in today's world, for a marketer, you need to be a T-shaped marketer. You need a broad knowledge of all the different areas within marketing, and then you need a deep knowledge of each of those and how they work and how you can combine them together. And it's like, my phrase for years has been connecting the dots in your marketing. Because we use all of it. So that might sound like I'm trying to big myself out there, but the point I want to make is, when we're talking about niching and stuff like that, right, is that you hit the nail on the head. The business doesn't have to niche, but a product or service does. So if I was doing some sort of training that was social media training, and people wanted help with social media, well, I could touch them. I can, they could know then that this is for them, right? But if I then wanted to do, help a business put some ads in place, well, I could do that as well, because there's a different audience. But me as a business, or me as a person, I could help people in different ways. I didn't have to niche myself down, otherwise I would have been leaving money on the table. And a way how I always explain this to people is the likes of Nike, for example, right? So Nike is a sports brand. They have running trainers, they have golf trainers, they have football boots, and they have the trainers that the youths wear in the street.
Yeah.
So who is their ideal audience? What is their niche? But their niche is actually sport, right? And I mean, even then you get into kind of fashion, and then even maybe accessories. And that's the point that I wanted to get across within this podcast, is I think a lot of the stuff that gets taught with niche is you have to niche down, and then you're stuck in that niche. You leave money on the table, and it's hard to then grow or even kind of dominate that niche sometimes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And I've just kind of gone on a bit there. So
going back to Nike, is there then their niche then are the particular? So, for example, if they're selling golf trainers or golf shoes, their niche for that particular product are going to be golfers.
Mm-hmm.
So, is their marketing is going to be slightly different from the say basketball?
Yeah, exactly. So I think a great way I kind of sum that up is that I say, look, if we take the golf boots or whatever they're called, the golf shoes and stuff like that, the way how they would market them is they're marketing it to usually that kind of middle-aged man who's going out to play golf on the weekends or after work or whatever it is. And then if you take, say, the trainers that the youths wear in the street, it's all about being cool and having the latest design, it's got that kind of urban, kind of feel to it. So you've got two different products from Nike, the same logo going on both of them, but you've got two different customers. So the way how they would market to, the golfer is like, look, you have to have this brand because it's like, it is a brand that gives a statement out. that you like high quality stuff and all this kind of stuff. Where you got the youth in the street where it's all about being cool around your friends and them seeing it that way. It comes back to that brand, and the same then with for instance with football boots.
Yeah.
Is it will be I think a lot of that kind of stuff has always been focused on speed. So it's all about you're that kind of dynamic player if you've got Nike football boots.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, it's it's three different client types there.
Yeah.
But from the same brand.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right, exactly right. So that's one. Yeah. So those. But the interesting thing, as you said, with they have that overlying brand. The brand has a very, very broad niche, and that's sport. But each of those products then has that vertical. Well, I would call because I'm an old school man. Back in the day of the vertical markets, where you're saying, right, we are going to target everything golf. So they have gloves. They'll have the golf shoes. I don't know if they sell golf balls and stuff, but I mean, they could get into that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, they do, mate. Yeah, that's it.
But interesting.
I guess we could give another example then. I mean, if we go back to the estate agent, for example, right? So we take Ben. You keep saying Ben, and I'm sure that like you're going to look out for him now and stuff like that. But if we take him, and he's an estate agent within Bristol, to me that is niche enough.
Okay,
right? You've got your sector, right? You're in Bristol as well. So you're an estate agent, you're in Bristol, you can sell houses. Now, the way how niching gets taught is you really need to drill down. So if he drilled down and he said, you know what, I'm going to take an area within Bristol. So maybe say Clifton, for example, where there's, houses that cost a decent amount of money. And he says, I'm just going to sell houses within Clifton. Well, he's just taking a lot of money off the table for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if he turns around and he says, do you know what? I'm going to say that I only sell studio flats.
Yeah, okay.
He's then taking a lot of money off the table again.
Yeah.
And then he might turn around then and it could be, okay, and I only sell those studio flats that have a parking space. And so you might only get one or two up there, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like when you go down, what happens then is you filter out the customers that you could serve, right?
Yeah.
And part of the issue there is that you don't know what works.
Yeah.
So you're niching down and you're guessing, you're gambling. You're coming up with what you want. You're going, okay, this is what I would prefer, not what the market is telling me.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that's where a lot of kind of niching goes wrong, where I think that they push it into going so small into a certain area, and then you've only got so many types of you've only got a small pool of customers. And other people are going into that as well. Can you dominate that area? You can if you really push it. If there is enough customers, and I'm thinking about this as well, is that with any kind of market, there's only so many customers who are ready to buy right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole point of marketing is that we're waiting for when that person is ready to buy or sell, they're coming to you. And in that kind of game, well, look, you can just be sat around twiddling your thumbs if you're waiting for that customer to come to you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've got to be front of mind, haven't you, with all those people, because somebody at some point may want to have a one bed studio in Clifton, but at the moment they're happy where they are.
And you imagine then, okay,
potential customers.
So if we take that estate agent type again, and they go with Bristol as a whole, and they start doing it, and they all of a sudden they find that, do you know what, 2-bed houses, right? There are people selling them all the time because their families are growing and they're growing out of that house, so that they're always coming onto the market. And there are couples getting together or new parents that are looking for that kind of property. So actually that flow of customers and from buying and selling each side, that flow is really there.
Yeah.
And you know what, maybe North Bristol is where a lot of that happens. All of a sudden then the market has determined his niche.
Yeah. Okay.
Rather than him gambling and going, I'm guessing that I'm going to make more money by going to Clifton.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah. The fact that you can niche down too far and miss a lot of stuff. I think and I think there's also that element in there, isn't there, that you need to understand the market first before you even think about how far to drill down. And like you said, it could be that the 2 to 3 bedroom houses are the most buoyant market going. and yet you're missing that trick because you've thought incorrectly, not done enough research maybe, but you've thought that those one bed studio flats are the way to go. And I think, so I think that I think with every, this is the other thing I think about niching as well, is that there's a lot of people who will niche down without doing that any kind of research.
I think that's the big point.
They will think that, okay, I only want to sell to this person because of that issue they have, that challenge they have, and I know I can fix it. But actually, what they need to do is research, well, how many people who have those challenges are in a market for that particular product or service? How much are they willing? How much are they likely to pay? How big is that target? And I think that there's research that needs to go every time we start to think about niching. Is you've got to have that minimum viable product and research that people actually want it. I think that's a big difference as well.
Part of my view why niching is taught wrong or is done in the wrong way is usually that there's someone selling to you, a way of doing things. So you might get, a coach or a guru or something like that that's telling you to niche down. Now, if we take niching, what usually would happen is you would take the likes of, say, someone in business, someone who's like maybe say a professional. It could be, for instance, I'm making this up now, but it could be like, say, a financial advisor, right? They offer financial advice across a broad market, right? Yeah. Over time, they build more knowledge and more experience.
Yeah.
That they move into a particular area.
Yeah.
And then they move more and more then. And it could get into, like just say, for instance, pensions or something like that, right? Is that they then become the main person that knows everything about pensions. You think in the UK, we have Martin Lewis, who is the money saving expert. Right? Yeah. He wasn't always the money saving expert, right? So he went through that kind of stage where he really knew, what was going on. He was reporting on different things happening until he got that real kind of knowledge and real pushed it through that he becomes the expert. For me, that is niching. That's what happens. You have that natural kind of ascension, whether you niche into that area.
Right.
Where it's taught wrongly is someone starting out. It's like, okay, what audience do you want? Who do you want to work with? What is it you want to do? And it's kind of just like make believe. It's just like fairy tale stuff where they kind of make up what they want, and all of a sudden they niche and they're like, yeah, I just coached this person to achieve this result. And it's like, okay, but you've got no real kind of substance, no real kind of backup to do that. And I think that, and it's basically set them up for failure. Right. And it's, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that niching doesn't work. I think if you get niching right, you can run away with the profits. Right. But I think that for majority of people, you have to go through a process of finding your niche.
Yeah.
Rather than saying what your niche is.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. Yeah. And that's true, actually. If I think back to where I started my coaching business, and even the copywriting business, to be fair, I wrote an awful lot of different things for an awful lot of different companies in an awful lot of different industries before I found something that I was more comfortable with. And same for the coaching. When I started out, I was just I'd coach anybody that moved who had a kind of an issue. I would coach, and just slowly got to the stage where I honed into particular business coaching and small business coaching, because you're still coaching that individual person. There's no such thing as coaching a business, really. When people say I'm a business coach, you never coach a business. You coach a person within that business, normally the owner or the directors or whatever. But it's always that way. That I just find that the whole idea of business coaching is you're coaching somebody. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but you're coaching somebody to get their life right first, before they even know they may be in the wrong business, as I was, for so many years. But you're right. You need to understand what your market looks like before you can start thinking. Actually, going back to your IFA, because we know quite a few IFAs between us, I know. But I've got a guy in my network, if you like, and he does pensions. He can do everything, but he loves pensions. And he loves helping people and consolidating pensions. He loves getting them right. He loves making sure that they have the best pension they possibly can, and providing the best returns and all the rest of it. that they possibly can. He could write whatever he wants because he's got all that knowledge. But that's the thing that he loves. But he didn't start that way. He would do anything for anybody until he found out that he liked pensions.
I guess
it does become, it is a process, isn't it, to find that.
I guess that's it, mate. I think, do you know what? I think from kind of talking, I don't want it to kind of be cloudy where I'm saying that niches don't work. Niches work. I think what happens is people get pushed in or they get told they have to find a niche to be successful, but you don't. And you can find a niche. So for instance, if you are the expert at something, or like you were saying, look, your knowledge is vast on a certain subject, right? Then you can become that go-to person, and that is your niche. It doesn't mean that you have to stay within just that niche. You can
not at all.
As well,
not at all.
Right? But you can do it. And I'll give you a story here, mate. I was talking to a guy last week, actually. Got a photographer, Marcus Ahmed. Now, give him a shout. He always listens to the podcast, so we'll give him a little shout out there. Great photographer. When we get our kind of branding stuff sorted soon, mate, we'll be having a chat with him.
Yeah.
But he said to me, he said, "Oh, do you know what? I keep getting bombarded with people saying that they are photography coaches." So they were like, say photographers or whatever, and now they're teaching photographers how to get customers and stuff like that. And he said to me, he's like, what's the difference, between working with like a photographer and working with another business and stuff like that? I said, mate, nothing. Nothing is different. If I was to work with you as a photographer, and I was to work with a trade, I was to work with an accountant or whatever it is, 90% of it would be exactly the same. Because all we're looking at doing is processes, frameworks, whatever you're trying to achieve, we build out, we tailor that to you, right? But what we look at is the front end. And that front end messaging, if we can do something like that where we can target a particular niche or a particular area, then we will dominate that. So you take a photographer, for example, okay, look, they can tell you how to deal with like a photographer. Can they take their skills in marketing and go and help a trade or an accountant? That there is where you go, okay, look, are they an expert? Just because they're in a niche and stuff like that, are they really an expert?
Yeah.
That to me is where it's a case of saying you don't have to have a niche to be an expert or to have a successful business. Yeah,
exactly right. And it's interesting because the reason that, one of the reasons I actually drifted. Yeah, I guess I did drift eventually. The reason I went into business coaching, because originally, being an accountant, I found that's what I loved most. I didn't like bookkeeping and accountancy. The statutory accounting really wasn't for me. Just left me cold. It just didn't. It was going through the motions of satisfying the HMRC rather than helping anybody. Didn't help anybody at all. And even accountancy, producing the numbers doesn't really help a business owner when you give them all the figures that they did a year ago, because that's irrelevant, really. It just shows what they did. It's not telling them where they are now and helping them to understand patterns of where they are now and how they're going to move on. That's the piece of accountancy that I loved, was that whole management accountant. I'm not a management accountant, but that management accountancy of understanding where they're going, what the problems are, how they can avoid them, and how they can move on with them. And that's when I realized that I really like coaching businesses, because that's what it is. That part of accountancy is where you're taking a business, you're analyzing what they've done, admittedly, but not to focus all your attention on what they've done, but to understand where the trends are, where they're going, and what numbers they're measuring, and all this kind of, the accountancy stuff. But it's the business coaching part of it that I really loved. And that's why I trained to become a business coach, because I had that accounting background. And it was by having that expertise that I found out that's what I particularly enjoy. So like you say, you can change your niches, because when I started to the business coaching, I realized that a big element that was missing, which is now quite commonplace, but I pride myself on being one of the first person to realize it, is that people have a life first and their business is second. So you're not coaching them. A lot of business coaches started off years ago by coaching the business and forgetting the owner. So now that's changed, and we coach the owner exactly what the owner wants, and then to say, okay, how is the business doing for
How
you
do you
to be able
build
to
the
create
business?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you in the right business? Because from experience, I know that is a major question to ask. And B, is it performing as you want to have the lifestyle that you want? Because ultimately, everything, all the marketing, everything, business building that works, all comes down to lifestyle. Whether you are a solopreneur, as people say nowadays, a limited company as a director, are you having the lifestyle you want? And that means the cash, that means the freedom, that means that everything that goes around that. They might want a small lifestyle, somebody might want a really opulent lifestyle. But whatever it is that business giving them the lifestyle they want? And ultimately, to me, that's the sort of the ultimate question.
I
Is
mean,
it bringing the
we
cash
did
you
a
want?
whole episode on that, didn't we? Like going
Yeah.
back however many ago, and I said like to me that was I can't even think when it was. Was it about 2016 or something like that?
Oh, I think
And
it
I
was.
was at a seminar of yours,
Yeah.
and that's when you said about it. You just said like, okay, like what's the goal? And it's not about your business. And it
No.
was like, what do you mean? That's what always is taught. What's your business goal? What are you trying to achieve? And it's like, no, you need to be working on your life goals,
Yeah.
and your business is a vehicle to support that. And
Yeah.
it blew my mind. I was just like, yeah, do you know what? And that started everything, I guess, from then to now, when everything we're doing with stretching and
Yeah.
compressions
And
is that.
and and that came about because I'd been through the same process. I was an accountant. I didn't want to be an accountant. I thought I did, and I qualified for one.
Yeah,
But what I missed, what I realized I missed, I enjoyed was the training of accountancy and helping people understand, would you believe, double entry bookkeeping, and helping people suddenly get that aha moment and understanding Excel spreadsheets, not because of the Excel spreadsheet, but just understanding how they could measure things and getting them to suddenly realize that, oh, wow, I can see how it works. That's what I loved, not doing the spreadsheets, not the accountancy. And
yeah,
so having gone through that myself and realizing that I was in the wrong job, I was in the wrong career, I didn't want to be there. And that was so easy to coach other people. And I'll ask the question, do you feel this, and this? And if you do, likely you're in the wrong place.
mate, so I was just thinking then like that double entry bookkeeping, that takes a special kind of person. That is a niche right there.
Yeah.
If you were good at that, you're in your own niche. You
Yeah,
can be a
that's true.
premium.
Yeah.
You can charge what you want. I couldn't, mate, just going a little bit off top here and wrapping this one up. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think going back, God, I don't know, 10, 11, maybe sort of that 10 years ago, I got to that point where I was like, okay, look, I need to get a proper job. Right? So all this kind of like business stuff, get a proper job and everything like that. And I started studying. So maybe it was a bit longer than 10 years ago. And I started studying for three different qualifications all at the same time. Right. So
Wow.
one was to be a mortgage advisor, one was to be a financial advisor, and one was to be an accountant. And basically, like, long story short, I qualified first for the mortgage advisor sort of qualification. I went off to do that then. Didn't last, but we'll save that for another podcast episode. But I count myself as being quite a switched on guy, and finance and
Yeah.
numbers are definitely my thing. And even like to today, within business, is all about the numbers. I'm all about, right,
Yeah.
okay, look, the profit. How do we increase the profit? Maximize value, returns from a customer, and all that kind of stuff. But during that accountancy qualification, I mean, I became part qualified or something like that. That was the toughest time ever, like going through stuff, double entry bookkeeping. I was just like, wow, like thank God we've got all that technology now.
Oh,
We can just
exactly.
scan
Yeah.
stuff in and do it. But I can remember then, it's just like, yeah, mate,
Yeah.
that
That's
was
why
torture.
that's why it's not a niche anymore. No one needs it.
No, no, yeah, no
That's
one
the
needs it
trouble.
again. Look, okay, look, if you were in that niche, you don't have a
Yeah.
job anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, mate, I think we'll wrap things up for this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been at least an hour now. Over an hour. Again, I think it's starting to go dark.
It
It's
is. I
like,
know.
it's crazy, right? We're meant to be summer
Yeah.
here in the UK, but hey,
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah, mate, I think wrapping things up.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Let's
think
do it.
looking at kind of niches, I guess, yeah. Look, the point I'm getting across is that, look, you don't have to be in a niche to be a success.
No.
You can dominate a niche, but you can also fall into a trap of being in a niche. So I think that's the kind of wrap up that way. Again, going back to kind of local business marketing, yeah, you can dominate your area, no matter what kind of industry you're in. And I think as well, it's something that maybe we'll talk about in the next podcast episode, or maybe in a couple of ones, is looking at the kind of customer avatar. I think this gets chucked around. To me,
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that the same as with niching and stuff like that is I think probably 90% of what you hear out there about marketing is very diluted. And that's the reason it doesn't work. And that's why you get so many people, kind of maybe complain or they try stuff within marketing and it doesn't work. And like you said earlier in this podcast, everything works. It's just using it in the right way,
Yeah.
at the right time to make it work for you. So I think it'd be good to talk about avatars because I think this is an area again that gets really diluted.
Yeah.
That's it from me, mate. Is there anything that you want to kind of sum up and wrap up with this?
No, I think what came out of this, which for clarity, is that research. If you want to find a niche, which people, as we just said, niches do work, but don't dive into it. Find your niche, and you can either research it, or probably better is you let your business find that get by servicing other people, you actually get your business to find the niche for you. And I think that is quite a lesson. That is quite a lesson, I think, for people to realize that, initially people beat themselves up about, I don't have a niche. And you say, well, maybe you don't need one to start.
I think that's it as well. If you're not getting the results you want, don't think you have to niche down.
No.
It's just about getting the processes right for it to work for you. I think probably like I'm thinking to myself then, it's like, okay, work the niche. Don't let the niche work you.
That's a good point. Actually, that's good. Like that one. That we can end on that. That's good.
We'll end on that one then.
Yeah.
Let's pull the plug now.
And then, all right.
We get together for the next episode, mate. Who knows what it's going to be about? I'll let you decide, Mark.
Who knows, indeed.
But listen, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, okay. Cheers, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye then.